Hare Krishna everyone, and welcome back to another video. We're here in Lumbridge actually. My membership expired. We've done 14 days of member, but we haven't really gained any prayer experience. So you might be thinking, that was a bit of a waste of 2 weeks. But actually we've been grinding down these bone shards, and we've actually prepared enough to get 99 prayer right here. I think the XP rate is about 1.5 million XP per hour, so in less than 10 hours I could have 99 prayer. This is 2.3 million bone shards, and they're worth 6 XP each, so 2 million would be 12 million XP, plus the 300, which is another 18 or 1.8 mil. So we've got 13.8 mil prayer XP just there in that inventory. Actually, this little stack of bone shards is worth 200 million GP in dragon bones, you know. So it's actually quite a good value. And I've also got 3.6 million dragon bones left because the Varlamore prayer method gives you more experience than conventional gilded altars. I think it's time for us to go back to Varlamore now, and we can do a quest. The quest is called Twilight's Promise, and Twilight's Promise will allow us to use the quetzal I think it's called quetzal teleportation method, as well as use this Civitas Illa Fortis teleport, which is what we're going to require to quickly use these blessed bone shards in the libation bowl, I think it's called. Anyway, if you don't know anything about RuneScape, then everything I've just said is complete code. Actually, in spiritual circles, everything I've just said is what's known as prajalpa. Prajalpa is a Sanskrit term which means sort of talking about mundane subject matter. So subjects that don't pertain to our elevation in spiritual consciousness are known as mundane. So information about this temporary material manifestation doesn't actually give us any lasting benefit, because the material world is temporary, meaning that it has a beginning and an end, whereas the spiritual reality is eternal. So subjects which are pertaining to the temporary material manifestation won't last, whereas if we're speaking about subjects which are elevating our consciousness spiritually, then any advancement made on this path is never lost. It's what Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita. So yeah, talking about prayer training methods and libation bowls and all these things are technically prajalpa, but because we're doing these activities in a way that's connected to Krishna, in other words, to kind of spread the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita through these videos, then that's my way of sneakily allowing myself to kind of learn about the optimal training methods for prayer in RuneScape. So that's kind of interesting. But anyway, let's smash this quest out. Let's start the quest. But this concept of prajalpa and speaking only words which are valuable is actually quite interesting, right? Like, the words that we speak define the person that we are. So we have to be very careful about the types of things that we speak about and the types of things that we hear. I think we've talked about it before, but where attention goes, energy flows. So based on the types of things that we're paying attention to, it dictates the way that our perspective is tainted, you know. I don't know, I used to watch a lot of UFC fighting, and whenever I watch that kind of stuff in excess, then almost always I get a little bit like restless, like I want to start fighting everyone around me. I don't know if you guys have ever had that experience, but it's kind of Just an interesting thing that I noticed in myself. Like I remember when I was in the temple, I would always be like trying to ask the monks, like, hey, do you want to, wrestle, do some jiu-jitsu, let's have a little fight? And it would really get on their nerves. But then I pinpointed it, okay, this is because I'm going on my phone when I shouldn't be, and just, watching Joe Rogan talk about the UFC, and it's making me a little bit feisty. So, similarly, like the words that we speak have amazing power. So a spiritual practitioner is very careful to only speak words that are pleasing, and only speak words which are causing us to become elevated, if you know what I mean. Because there's a million topics, and the types of topics that you take interest in, those topics will take interest in you. So it's like that. So when we start watching loads of RuneScape videos, the mind becomes very, very, very super sort of centered around RuneScape. You guys have probably experienced that. Like, if you're on a bit of a RuneScape binge, then constantly you're thinking about plans and the method and the order in which you're going to train your character in the game, and it kind of takes over your consciousness. I remember when I was a teenager, I used to fantasize about getting certain skills to 99, and I remember just before I went to bed, I would always be like, 99 fletching, 99 fletching. Like, I'd think in my head, like, 99 fletching, one day I'll get 99 fletching. And eventually I did. And it's interesting because according to, like, the Bhagavad Gita, the thoughts that we think in our life are very important, because whatever we're thinking at the time of our death, that dictates the next destination for our soul. So obviously you have the idea of reincarnation. So this is one body that we have, but our soul has been in many, 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 many bodies before. And we're on a kind of continuum, like on a journey through the universe, through different forms. And according to the science of reincarnation, then the thoughts that we have at the time of death dictate where we go. So with spiritual life, we're training ourselves to think thoughts of Krishna and think thoughts of God. So then when it comes to the end of our life, then we're likely to think of God and thus go to God. So one side effect of us doing this quest is that we actually have to train our thieving level. The quest gives, I think, 16 thieving, so our free-to-play stats are going to get smashed. I always find this idea interesting though, like the thought that our consciousness is a container. So we fill up our consciousness through our various senses, and once the container is full, once we've filled our mind with many thoughts, then the container overflows. So in other words, we begin to speak about what we filled ourselves up with. So yeah, based on the types of topics that you're interested in, it means you're going to talk about them. Like, when we were in school, when I was 11 is when I first started playing this game, RuneScape, and I remember me and Cameron Andrews and Ross Morgan, we'd kind of get together in the playground and talk about RuneScape because we had that shared common interest. So also, like, the things that you're interested in will dictate the types of persons that you hang out with. Like, for instance, if you're into smoking weed, then naturally you're going to associate with people who are weed smokers, and sometimes those people are influenced by lower energies, so you're likely to get in trouble, or if you're attracted to kind of criminal activities, then trouble comes to you. And similarly, like, if you're interested in cultivating spiritual subject matters, then you have to associate with those persons who speak spiritually, who are interested in spiritual subject matter, and that will rub off on you, and it will fill your container, so to speak. So we've got to kind of be careful, and that's where our kind of free will comes in. Is we have the choice about the types of things that we expose ourselves to, and the types of things that we expose ourselves to dictates the destination where we go. So yeah, you expose yourself to like a lot of RuneScape videos, then don't be surprised if your mind becomes obsessed with RuneScape and you want to play constantly and level up your character constantly. It's just the way that the material energy works. It's the way that this world is designed. And that's kind of a nice thing, because it means that we have a certain amount of agency over where we're going in life. It's not like we're just being dragged along by destiny. We actually have the capacity to kind of take the reins on our life and kind of go in the direction that we want to go. And the main way that we do that is by controlling the stimulus that we allow to affect us. In other words, we control the types of information and persons that we hang out with, because that's really the main factor. We become conditioned by our environment, so it's so vital that we kind of are quite diligent, and we avoid the association of those that will pull us down, and we seek out the association of souls that are able to elevate ourselves, elevate our perspective, elevate our consciousness. You know, sometimes you may be working a job, and you know, we've all been in that situation where we're doing something and the environment is so negative, the people are so negative that they're constantly dragging us down, you know. And sometimes, you know, it can be an intelligent move to leave that job or at least begin searching for a different environment to work in, because the effect of having a negative person around you is really damaging, you know. Like, especially in school, for instance, like if someone's getting bullied or someone's having this kind of exposure to extremely negative persons, then that will really affect their development as they grow up. So we have to be careful. We're agents of our destiny, and the persons that we allow into our lives really can have a positive effect or a negative effect. So I just encourage anyone, like, if you are feeling like your life is going in the direction that you're not satisfied with, then maybe it's worth paying attention to types of people that are around you, and also the types of information that you're exposing yourself to. So yeah, who am I associating with? Who am I hanging out with on a regular basis? And what is the quality of the sound vibration that those persons are vibrating? The Vedic scriptures are called Shabda Brahman, which means divine sound. Just hearing the Bhagavad Gita is actually an extremely powerful experience. So the last video that I just uploaded, you may have skipped it because it's like 2.5 hours long of me just reading a book, is what it sounds like. Oh my god, he's just reading this book. Maybe you listened for 10 minutes and got bored. But I'd encourage to try to listen to the Bhagavad Gita in a way that, not in a way that you're trying to gather and understand and capture the information that's given within it, but rather try to hear the Bhagavad Gita as like a sort of shower, so that let the sound vibration into your ear and allow it to affect your consciousness, because there's no way that we can capture these spiritual truths with our intellect, because our intellect is worldly. It's like a small ant trying to understand how the Empire State Building was built. The ant just doesn't have the capacity to understand like the complexities of engineering and whatnot. And similarly, us as tiny little human beings on planet Earth, we don't have the capacity to understand the greater reality of the universe. Literally the hardware, the brain, isn't powerful enough. You get syntax errors, you get computer says no moments, where you try to contemplate the vastness of reality and it just doesn't happen. So instead of trying to understand the Bhagavad Gita with your mind, you just allow the sound to affect your consciousness. And if you put it on and you just try to just try to hear something, then I can guarantee that through the process of hearing, you'll have a very powerful spiritual experience. I've read the Bhagavad Gita hundreds of times, and each time I find something new there, which I didn't know before. So yeah, I encourage you to just maybe click on that video again, the Bhagavad Gita, and just try to hear the sound vibration and see how it affects you. Yeah, give it a go and let me know. it's one of them things you can just have it on in the background again and again and again. And there's other versions, like I'll link the version of me speaking it, but you know, maybe you don't like the way that my mic sounds, you don't like that I make mistakes, but I can also link down below, there's a really nice crisp version with good audio, you know, by like a proper audiobook narrator. As you can tell, I'm not really paying too much attention to the kind of story of this quest, which is I'm probably cheating myself, but I honestly I'm not that interested. Okay. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Yeah, for some reason I came back to Varrock because I wasn't paying attention and I was trying to follow that blue arrow, but I realised it's trying to take us back to Varlamore, so for the first time in a while, my character's sprinting. Look at him, he looks funny sprinting, it doesn't look right, but you know, it is what it is. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Oh yeah! Now we've got the quetzal to our little temple. Okay, now I'm happy. So this is our kind of home for the next couple of days. This is where we're going to be training our prayer. Nisal Benexai, welcome to Tiamat. Nisal, my child. There's a lot of dialogue in these quests. I would like to get into it, but it's a bit too Prajalpuri for me. Oh no, what's going on? Okay, I'm getting me gold simi out. This is cool, I'm like a monk defending the temple. Get away from our temple! Hey, you cultists! Get away from our temple, there's nothing worse than a cult. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We don't like cults. These quests definitely feel more advanced than the old ones, but... Okay, the last cultist. He's been eating too many cakes, I think. Okay, Jai. Oh no, what happened? Looks like Servius of Ralos is goner. Okay, I think, yeah. There we go. Now the account is truly ruined. We've got some thieving XP on here. There's 15 total levels in one swoop. So there you go. We're no longer a free-to-play account officially, although we haven't been for a month, or for 14 days. So I guess we can try a little bit of this prayer training method now. Okay, to save the weight of carrying the monk's robe, I thought I would change my kind of default character to have monk's robes naturally, and I thought it was funny because actually now because you can have a skirt on a male character because of all of the LGBT stuff, I'm able to kind of actually dress as a genuine Hare Krishna monk in RuneScape. Like you got the saffron coloured robes and this looks like one of the boys in the temple. It's insane. Okay, so we teleport here. We go to the top of the altar, and then we go back to the temple. And there should be a libation bowl in here that we fill, and then we just spam click it. Let's open that up for the XP drops. Spam click it until our prayer hits down to 0. Pray at this shrine. Go back to the bowl. Spam it again. There you go, 68 prayer. 105 combat, wow! Awesome. This is really rapid. On my kind of XP tracker on RuneLight, it says that I'm getting over 2 million XP per hour, which is a lot. Okay, thanks for watching everyone. Hare Krishna.